Hello and welcome to Diabetes The Way Out, 5 simple steps for total blood sugar control. Now, if you are on this webinar, I want you to go ahead and turn everything off, turn off Facebook, turn off Instagram, and pay complete close attention to this because this information may just change your life. And I know you've probably heard that before, but this will be a content-rich, content-heavy webinar. So I ask that you listen to me like your life depends on it because it really does. So go ahead and grab a pen and paper because you're going to want to take some notes. My name is Steven Rodriguez and we're just going to jump straight into this. So as I said, welcome to Diabetes The Way Out, 5 simple steps for total blood sugar control. Now let's make sure that you are in the right place. Who this is for. This webinar is for anyone that is a type 2 diabetic or pre-diabetic that is motivated in changing their lives and transforming their health without having to be a slave to medication or food restrictions for the rest of their lives. If you are an open-minded person who is teachable and coachable and you're willing to try something different that will allow you to fulfill your desire to be healthy and free from the burden of diabetes so you can maintain your new healthy lifestyle, and I stress the maintain, then this webinar is absolutely for you. This presentation is for you. So in the next 50 minutes, I'm going to show you how to change your relationship with yourself and how you relate to your food so you can finally lose that stubborn diabetic weight that won't go away despite how much you exercise, and you can sort through all of the confusing and contradictory diabetes nutrition information that you get from your doctor, your dietitian, your friends, the internet, so you can know what to listen to and what not to. And I'm going to show you how to eat what you want while still maintaining control of your blood sugar and how to get permanent results instead of having to rely on endless quick fixes that you have to keep on doing again and again and again and again. And this is my promise to you. I'm going to show you the easiest, most simple way to control your blood sugar without medication or insulin, all while eating whatever you want without counting a single carb or calorie in 14 days or less. And I know you might be thinking that's a very tall order. I don't believe you, but you would be very remiss to walk away from this presentation right now without hearing what I have to say, because these strategies have absolutely transformed the lives of my clients and the patients that I used to work with some people even achieving diabetes reversal. So, some quick house rules. Number 1, this is not a substitute for medical advice. So this webinar, this presentation is not intended to diagnose, cure, prevent, or treat any disease. Number 2, this is not a quick fix, but it can be a permanent solution. Number 3, this is not a do nothing and my diabetes goes away kind of system. And number 4, neither my results nor my patient or client results are typical. The testimonials I'm going to show you were achieved by patients and clients that followed the advice I gave them and dramatically changed their lifestyles. Their results are the result of their hard work and motivation to get healthy. They earned their results by being open to a different approach. Your success, or lack thereof, is totally and completely up to you. Now, let me ask you a question. Does this sound like you? Are you this person? Do you find yourself confused by all of the conflicting nutrition information your doctor, friends, and the media tell you? Do you feel frustrated and feel like no matter what you do, you're doomed to be on meds and diet restrictions for the rest of your life? And do you find yourself running out of healthy food ideas and you feel lost? And do you see other friends and family members try to control their diabetes and get healthy, but they can hardly eat anything and they're tied to strict systems for the rest of their lives? You know what I'm talking about, where diabetes controls every single choice they make, whether they choose a quote-unquote bad food or choose a quote-unquote good food. It's all motivated based on diabetes. And do you watch those same loved ones fall off the wagon just to never get back on again? And it leaves you feeling helpless and hopeless because you think to yourself, golly, if anybody could do it, they could, and they didn't. And so what hope do I have? And do you suffer from sugar cravings, excuse me, that are difficult, if not impossible to control, even if you know you should? And do you avoid going to your healthcare provider, your nurse practitioner, your PA, your doctor, because you're afraid they're going to tell you that you've gotten worse? And do you feel like you're working way too hard to get control of diabetes, but you're going nowhere? Let me tell you the real problem. This is the real problem right here. The real problem is that you've been misled into believing several lies about diabetes and healthy eating. And it's these lies that have kept you stuck in a cycle of fear and are making you feel like a failure. These lies tell you that you have no control over your diabetes and that you're doomed to be diabetic forever. But let me give you a dose of real truth right here. The real truth is, you do have the power to do something about this. At the crossroads of disease and health, you have the power. Don't let anybody tell you that you don't. So we're going to start with some 5 steps, these 5 steps that have absolutely transformed the lives of my patients and my clients. And once you follow them, okay, you're going to have complete control over your blood sugar. No more of this, oh my gosh, I woke up at 200 and I ended the day at 90. No more of that. And then I jumped to 300 the next morning. No, you can learn to customize your own personalized way of eating that is unique to you. So you don't have to be confused by information overwhelm, because really only you know your body better than anyone else. And you're going to be able to understand what your body is doing, not what someone else's body is doing. Okay? And you're going to be able to know what good and bad foods really are and how you can still eat them without having to worry about putting your health in jeopardy. Because let's be honest, you've probably done something before where you've done good food and bad food or whatever, and suddenly you find out that the food that you thought was good is suddenly bad, and the bad food you thought was bad is suddenly good. And so I'm going to show you how to be able to sort through that information so that way you don't put your health in jeopardy. Because honestly, there's a lot of bad advice out there coming from dietitians, doctors, practitioners, and even other coaches. I mean, it's true. I'm going to show you how to do this in a very simple way to know how to sort through the information. Okay? And you're going to do all of this while tapping into your body's natural healing mechanism so you learn to eat by your own God-given natural instincts and not intellect. Food shouldn't have to be thought about. It should just simply be eaten. Okay? Now let me tell you who I am. My name is Steven Rodriguez. I'm a nutritionist known as an integrative nutrition health coach, and my current average client weight loss is around 10 pounds a month in the first month, and then we see about 2 to 5 pounds after that. Around 90% of my clients and my patients see results with their fasting blood sugars going from, in some cases, the 300s, that's fasting, to the 80s, the 90s, normal is my point. Okay, most of my clients lose their sugar cravings in 14 to 30 days without trying, and it's more on the 14 side than the 30 side, though some had to work through it a little longer. Okay, and I specialize in total diabetes control and in some cases reversal, and I stand by that claim. I have been able to help some people reverse their diabetes by empowering them to make choices unique to their bodies. So this is what happens when we discover these 5 steps. Okay, there are 5 simple steps that you must incorporate into your lifestyle to truly find the way out of diabetes. This is type 2 diabetes, while you enjoy the foods you want and free yourself from the confusion of what should I be eating? Okay, and I'm going to walk you through all 5 steps today here on this presentation, here on this session. So grab a pen and paper. As I said, if you haven't grabbed one yet, you're really going to want one, because this first thing is the foundation of everything that we do. It is the foundation of a healthy life. Now, this is step 1. Are you ready? Here we go. Step 1, the first step is I want you to stop thinking of foods as good and bad. You're probably thinking, what? This is going to make sense in a second. So right here, we've got our nice little picture. I used to use this picture a lot with the patients in the clinic that I was at. And so the food on the right-hand side there, you would think is good food, right? Oh, look, there's broccoli, apples, asparagus, lettuce, a little bit of kale in there, blueberries, Brussels sprouts, as far as I can tell. And the food on the left is going to be our bad food, all the quote-unquote good stuff. You're probably thinking, Steven, you swapped those things. Actually, I didn't, but hold on. So here's the thing. You're thinking the stuff on the right is what is normally labeled as good, and the stuff on the left is normally labeled as bad. So this is what happens, okay? What happens is the food on the right-hand side, you're like, golly, I know I should be eating more good food, and I need to avoid the bad food. But let me show you what happens when you do that, okay? See, when you think of foods as good and bad, then you tend to think of yourself as a good person or a bad person based on how you've eaten. Think about it. This is what happens all the time. So let's say, for example, the food on the right-hand side there, you're like, you know what? I'm going to get control of my diabetes. I'm going to get control of my health. I'm going to drop weight. I'm going to do what I can do. And so I'm just going to start chugging on salads. I'll be honest with you, salad is not the solution, but follow me for a second. You're probably saying, I'm going to just chug on salad. And then your coworker walks up to you and says, hey, you want a donut? And you're like, oh, I've been so good the last 4 days. I've just been eating my salads. And you're like, no, I'm going to resist. I'm going to do a good job. And then you're like, no, I'm being good today. And they're like, okay. And they walk out of the office, and then you sit there and you think, you know, I could just do one donut. I mean, it's just one, right? And so what do? You go and you grab the one donut, you eat it, and the next thing you know, you've eaten 3. And then you're like, oh, you know what? Oh, I really messed up today. I was bad today. Okay. You see what I'm saying? And you're like, I was bad today. So you know what? Tomorrow morning, I'm gonna jump right back on. I'm gonna be good again. And so what do? You jump back on maybe for like another half a day. And then by the end of the day, you're like, another cookie. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I've been so bad. oh, golly, I keep failing at this thing. Wait a minute. What if I'm a failure as a spouse? If I'm a failure as a parent? What if I'm a failure as an employee? What if I'm a failure here? What if I'm a failure there? And so you start jumping back and forth, and you're like, well, I'm not a good person because I can't eat good food. I must be a bad person. And maybe you're laughing at this, but it's true, because a lot of people experience this dialogue in their head. When you talk to the people that I talk to, this is a very common thing that happens. And so as you start eating more quote-unquote bad food, you start telling yourself, oh my gosh, I can't seem to be good. I must be a failure. You fall into anxiety. You fall into depression. And this has the side effect of making you feel like a failure and a bad person in every area of your life. And when that happens, and when you start eating more bad food, okay, you tell yourself, I might as well go all the way. And you know what I'm talking about. You see, I might as well go all the way. I might as well just binge, because I obviously can't eat in a way that I want to. I'm obviously not capable of doing the good thing here, so I might as well go all the way. And then pretty soon, the next thing you know, you throw your hands up in the air. You say, you know what? I don't care anymore. I don't care about who I am. I don't care about trying to get this thing licked. There's just no point. And there you are. You say, I might as well go all the way. If you know what I'm talking about, then understand this. There's a different approach. There's a different way to do this. Because this is one of the reasons why you have a bad relationship with food and a bad relationship with yourself. Because food is not supposed to be a moral issue. This isn't what you want. It's not what I want for you. So instead, I want you to think of it this way. Are you ready? Write this down. There are 3 categories of food. Category 1 are foods that promote and rebuild my health. So we're not going to be thinking them as good and bad anymore. We're just going to be putting them in these 3 categories. And this is going to make sense in a second. Number 2, foods that destroy my health. And number 3, foods that are somewhere in the middle. Okay? So once again, 3 categories of food. Category 1, foods that promote and rebuild my health. Number 2, foods that destroy my health. And number 3, foods that are somewhere in the middle. So, how do I know what food fits where? I'm going to ask myself this question, which is, how did that food make me feel? Now, here's what I'm trying to tell you. See, this one question, probably saying, what does this have to do with anything? Let me show you. This is the one question that you might think, that's it, but hold on. This question will answer every single question you could ever have about food, ever. And I'm not making that up. This one question, how did that food make me feel? This one question allows you to know whether or not a food is going to be good for you, regardless of what that food is. So it doesn't matter what the food is. Instead of having to sort through, I've got to count carbs, calories, I've got to watch this, I've got to watch that, I've got to watch ingredients, I've got to blah, 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 blah. Instead, we're going to just ask this question, and this question is going to filter out all of the foods that are going to harm your body. Why? Because when you eat terrible food, your body's going to feel terrible. When you eat life-promoting food, your body's going to feel life. Okay? So this is how you do it. 15 minutes to an hour after you eat, you want to ask yourself, how did that food make me feel? How that food made you feel? So here's how you can tell what food is going to be where. So if you feel like you have energy, I'm not talking about happy. People are like, oh, I had a donut, I feel great. That's not what I mean. If you feel like you have energy, not happy, and I'm talking about energy that carries you through the day, not drops you off at 3 o'clock, because the donut's going to drop you off about 15 minutes after you eat it. You're going to feel like you want to fall into a sugar coma, and it's true. So if you feel like you have energy, not happy, is that food health promoting or health destroying? Well, the answer is health promoting. If you feel like you're fatigued and tired, I'm not talking about guilty, like, oh, I shouldn't have eaten that. No. If you feel fatigued and tired, is that food health promoting or health destroying? The answer is health destroying. There you go. And finally, if you're feeling nothing at all, is it health promoting or health destroying? Well, the truth of the matter is that it's in the middle. And so here's the great thing about that. See, as you ask yourself how that food makes you feel, your body is going to eventually sort food from the 3rd category into the preceding 2 categories. And so you're going to automatically know. And I'm going to give you an example. A food for you today might be health promoting and tomorrow be health destroying. And here's how you know, because you're going to ask yourself that question. So let me give you another example. Let's say you're in the desert and all you have to eat is a Twinkie and a Coke. All right, hear me out. Now, if you're diabetic, you're like, well, that's really bad for me, a Twinkie and a Coke. Let's think about where you're at, the environment. You're in a desert. And if all you have to eat is that, you best eat it, because it's going to do what? It's going to keep you alive. And is it going to be health promoting or health destroying? Well, obviously in that context is everything. It's going to be health promoting because it keeps you alive. Now, let's say, for example, you've got the difference between a Twinkie and a Coke and a steak and some tea. Well, that's a little bit different. You see, if I give you a list of don't eat this and don't eat that, you might say, well, I've heard meat's bad for me, and I've heard that tea can be harmful, but I've heard that meat is good for me, and I've heard that the tea can be good for me, and with the Coke and the Twinkie, well, we just kind of know that one's just not better for me, but I'm a little confused. Well, I guess between the two, the steak could be health promoting, but hold on. Let's say we have Twinkie, steak, and salad. Now, I just told you earlier that it's not about binging on salad, but hold on, hear me out. For some people, salad does really benefit them. They feel really great. So let's say we have all three. Or you're going to say, well, the meat in the salad. But hold on, let's compare the meat and the salad. For one person, the meat might make them feel lethargic and tired 15 minutes to an hour after they eat, or make them feel angry or cranky or irritable. So is that meat health promoting or health destroying, that steak? For that person, that specific person, write that down. That specific person, that food is going to be health destroying. Do you see the difference? Okay, and the salad is going to be health promoting. But let's turn the tide for a second. If somebody's body does better with meat and not exclusively veggies, now everybody's body needs veggies, not exclusively veggies, okay, then that person, if they eat just the salad, they're going to feel like they're missing something. They're going to feel like, well, that was great, but golly, I need more. I need more. I don't quite feel it. I need more. That person would need the steak. So the steak for that person is health promoting. That's why if you ask yourself how that food makes you feel, you're just going to know what's going to be best for you. Welcome to customizing your own personalized way of eating. This is how this works. I know I spent a lot of time here, but still very important. So now, once you do that, you have control over food instead of food controlling you. And now you know what you should or should not be eating based on a simple question instead of based on copious lists and counting this and counting that and watching portion sizes and watching how big your hand is and your thumb and your whatever. All that's out the window now, okay? So this is a guy named Mike. Mike Casillas actually worked with me, and he did not count a thing, and he decided to start listening to his body. You can actually check out his testimonial on my website, epiphanyhealthcounseling.com. I've got the full video there. That's a screenshot from it. Now, he was diabetic and didn't even know it until after we got his A1C to 5.8 from 6.5. Now, if you don't know about A1C levels, 6.5 is diabetic, 5.8 is pre-diabetic. We effectively reversed his diabetes. He was constantly frustrated with his health because he felt like he was doing all of the quote-unquote right things, and yet he was getting nowhere. Does that sound familiar? So check this out. Here's a copy of his labs, okay? So right there, his blood sugar, his A1C was at 6.5. He gave me permission to use this. He signed a release form because of HIPAA, which is the patient health protection laws. I cannot reveal other case studies and information of people directly unless they give me a release form. They haven't. Not all of them have. But anyway, so that's actually on later on in the presentation here. You're going to see some other results. But anyway, these are his labs because he did give me permission to use them. And right there, he's at 6.5. And you can see right there, normal is 4. It says 4.8 to 5.6. Sometimes normal's registered at 4.5. You get the idea. So he's at 6.5. Okay, right there. Now check this out. March 10th, 2016. A1C 5.8. There it is right there. Okay. And you see, there was something else that he did not do and that he did do. Okay. And so here's the thing. Once again, we've already recapped here. Avoid thinking of foods as good and bad. All right. And ask yourself how that food makes you feel. Oh, there's his weight, by the way. He went from 272 pounds. And by the time I was done with him, he went to 260. We stopped measuring over here. And I know that's really garbled there. I apologize. But you can see that I saw him quite frequently. Okay. So he actually did this second step here, which was to avoid counting, because counting does not do what you think counting does. Okay. So the idea of counting carbs and calories is based off of science that is being misapplied to the human body. So really, applying principles of physics into the body ignores the fact that there is a lot of biology happening that physics does not account for. So because of this, perfectly healthy foods are lumped in with harmful foods, all because of this thing that they all have the same calories and carbs in them. But that's not the same thing. Okay, so counting carbs and calories ignores what the calorie or carb that is going into your body is really made of. There are major differences. It's not all one thing. It's not all the same. So here's a quick question. Are cats and dogs the same because they both have 4 legs? The answer is no. They're not the same thing. They're two completely different animals. Literally, they're completely different animals. It's kind of like saying dogs and cats are all horses because horses all have 4 legs, and therefore dogs and cats have 4 legs. You get the idea. It's not the same thing. There are significant differences. This whole idea that a carb is a carb is a carb is a carb, a calorie is a calorie is a calorie is a calorie. You've heard that before. A calorie is a calorie, calories in, calories out. Bad science. That has been disproven again and again. It was disproven as early as the 1970s. The 1990s saw a seminal study, which we'll talk about later. I mean, this is bad advice. Okay, so how does carb counting work? Now, I don't mean to bore you with all the sciencey stuff, so sciencey alert, but I just want to show you this is a problem with how carb counting works. Now, if you're diabetic and you're carb counting, then you're familiar with this. If you're diabetic and you haven't carb count because you're not quite there yet, because your doctor hasn't deemed it necessary for you to be here, this is how this works. This is why you do not want to do this, because let me show you how hard this is. Now, for some people, they're like, oh, this is easy. I'm glad it's easy for you, but for the rest of us, it's hard. So how does carb counting work? So 15 grams equals 1 carb serving or carb choice. This is a sample carb counting scenario. So basically you have 3 to 4 carb servings per meal, and you have 1 to 2 carb servings per week. So that's 3 meals a day, 2 snacks a day. You get a max per day of 16 carb servings at 240 grams of carbs, okay? You're probably saying, what? Exactly. Okay, maybe some of you followed that, but it is confusing for the rest of us that are mathematically dyslexic, like me. So here's the problem with that. See, just because something only has X amount of carbs doesn't mean it won't make blood sugar spike out of control. And let me show you what I mean. See, a Coke, I'm talking about Coca-Cola, one Coke can, contains a little over 2 carb servings, but it can spike your sugar as high as 100 points. What? Yes, it has 2 carb servings, but it can spike your sugar as high as 100 points because of the high fructose corn syrup in it. Now, there was a study that came out that demonstrated, this was a study done by people that don't want you completely whole. I'm just being honest. Yeah, sorry about that. So basically, this is what happened. So this person, get that out of the way. There we go. So basically, this study that just came out, the way it works is that these carb servings, okay, that was my mom, by the way. Funny. These carb servings basically spike you 100 points because you have high fructose corn syrup. And with the high fructose corn syrup, what that does is that actually spikes your blood sugar in reality. But in effect, this study that came out demonstrated that high fructose corn syrup doesn't do that. That all sweeteners are the same, but they're not. If you look at the actual evidence, if you actually track blood sugars after you prick someone in their finger, high fructose corn syrup spikes them a lot. So, yeah. So a Coke contains a little over 2 carb servings, but it can spike your sugar as high as 100 points. So this is one of the other problems. So another problem is you have to measure portion sizes with your hands, thumbs, and fists in addition to your carb servings. And food ingredients are really more important than what the carb count is, because it's not about high fructose corn syrup. It's about food ingredients. It is about high fructose corn syrup, sorry. Because food ingredients are more important than what the carb count is, because you can have a low carb count, quote unquote, okay, but it's going to mess you up with other ingredients that are happening that have been placed inside the food. So you get the problem. So for example, low-fat yogurt is often recommended as a snack for type 2 diabetics because it contains about 1 carb serving. So the problem is it also contains almost half of the sugar of a Coke, which will spike your blood sugar. See the other problem? So here's a question. So let me illustrate this in this point. Which one of these is a carb? So they're both carbs. Now, sorry about that. They're both carbs. Now you're thinking, what? Yes, they're both carbs. Now watch. Here's the difference. So the one on the left is a complex carb, and the one on the right is simple. Now, here is a tomato. So tomato, number 1, has around 22 vitamins and minerals. It contains the antioxidant lycopene, which some studies show can benefit the blood vessels around your heart. And number 3, it's good because 75% of diabetics will die from heart disease if they don't control their diabetes. To give you a perspective on that, that's around 23 million people will die from heart disease if they don't control their diabetes. These are 22 million diabetics, because type 2 diabetes accounts for around 90-95% of all diabetic cases globally. So yeah, think about that. So if you can think about 22 people dying of a heart attack, this is the problem, okay? So lycopene, good stuff. Now, the difference, so on the right-hand side, that's a simple carb. Now, it has 2 ingredients, glucose and fructose, okay? It has 2 ingredients, glucose and fructose. And number 2, it contributes to and causes type 2 diabetes. What? Yes. If you've ever heard a doctor say, we don't know what causes type 2 diabetes, yes, we do. It's really simple. Put too much sugar in the system, the cells resist the insulin that your body's trying to do, so the pancreas tries to crank out more insulin. It can't break that resistance, and I'm going to explain this later. And basically, your pancreas peters out. It gets really tired because it's trying to send out all this insulin and it's not working. Number 3, it slows down wound healing and contributes to damaging inflammation in the body, and skin conditions like acne, rosacea, and eczema can also contribute to peripheral neuropathy, which is basically where you're feeling like your hands and feet feel like pins and needles. Okay, so let's look at AstraZeneca, which is a diabetic company. As far as diabetic medications, they're a pharmaceutical company. Now, according to their 1,500 calorie guide, starches and breads are the cornerstone of every healthy eating plan. I actually have a copy of this. And if you go to our free Facebook group, which is called Diabetes the Way Out for Type 2 on Facebook, you'll see a video where I actually demonstrate this. So that free Facebook group is Diabetes the Way Out for Type 2. Write that down if you want to get in there. There's about 900 people is the time of this webinar. A little over 900. Now, according to their 1500 calorie guide, starches and breads are the cornerstone of every healthy eating plan. So the problem is that these starches and breads are all simple carbs, and they turn to sugar fairly quickly once they enter the body. They will spike your blood sugar. Not might, they will. So even though their carb servings match their recommended dosage, it's going to spike your sugar. Now, here's the other problem. See, AstraZeneca manufactures drugs like Onglyza, Farxiga, Byetta, Bydureon, etc. Okay, and the problem is the more you consume, the cornerstone of every healthy eating plan, the more likely you are to need their medications, and the more likely your doctor will blame you, the victim, for the bad advice you've been given because of Big Pharma. So your doctor's going to blame you for the bad advice they've been giving you because a company like AstraZeneca, and yes, I am attacking them, a company like AstraZeneca, let's just be honest. If they're making billions of dollars off of Onglyza, Farxiga, Byetta, Bydureon, I mean, and suddenly we were reversing type 2 diabetes like crazy, do you think these people would be happy about that? No. So what are they going to do? Well, some of them are well-meaning. They're like, oh, wow, this is the way we do it. But I'm sorry, but that's a little bit naive. Okay? It really is naive. The people at the top, they know. People in the middle and bottom, they don't. It's true. This is the problem. Pharmaceutical companies want you between death and well. They don't want you dead because a dead person can't pay anything. They don't want you well because a well person won't pay anything. They want you in the middle because if you're in the middle, you're going to need to buy their medications. Now, don't get me wrong. Some people need these medications because it is a life or death situation. For that person, they need to have these pharmaceuticals, and it's a great tool. The problem is when you get somebody at the top that is saying, you know what, maybe there is a way to do this, but we don't want people to know. That's the problem. So here's some medication side effects. This is Bydureon with their potential side effects. Number 1 is thyroid tumors, including cancer. Number 2, an inflamed pancreas. Number 3, kidney failure. Number 4, stomach problems. Number 5, injection site reactions that may require surgery. And number 6, itching, rash, and difficulty breathing. Hey, that's fun for Bydureon. So what can you do? So write this down. I want you to track your blood sugar spikes and what food you ate before it happened to know what foods will really elevate you or not so you can stop worrying about carb counting. And this also ties into how does that food make me feel. So the truth is the advice your doctor or educator is giving you may be causing your spikes because it's the quote-unquote right advice that they're getting from interests that don't want you well. Okay, so let's talk about calories, and I'm sorry if this part's getting long, but just hear me out. So the idea behind calories is 1 pound is 3,500 calories. So if you want to lose weight, all you need to do is eat less than 3,500 calories a week, and you'll drop weight. So here's the problem. See, there was a study that was done, the Women's Health Initiative study, which had over 48,000 women, and it found that after eating 350 calories less over the course of 8 years, they only lost an average of 2 pounds. Now, if you don't understand the math on this, that's okay. Let me put it in very simple terms that somebody like me can understand, because I'm not kidding about the mathematic dyslexia. Basically, this is what it means. If you eat 350 calories less than 3,500 calories a pound per day, so if you eat 350 calories less over the course of 10 days, you should lose a pound. If you're eating let's say you're eating a 2,000 calorie diet, okay, and you're doing that every single day, and which means you're not bringing in 350 calories extra, you should be losing around, let's see, probably around a pound, 2 pounds every week. The problem is that after 8 years, these women only lost 2 pounds on average. It wasn't about the calories. It's about what goes in the calorie. You cannot apply physics into a biological system. Yes, there's physics in biological systems, but there's a lot more happening. So there was also this seminal study, as I mentioned earlier, in the 1990s. 2 Canadian researchers studied twins to see how calories affected them. And here's what they found. Basically, what they found was that with these twins, had multiple sets of twins. So they overfed a lot of them with like 5,000 calories or something like that. And pretty much everyone gained weight. Well, then when they reduced their calories, the twins, each set of twins actually maintained their weight loss. Some lost 10 pounds, some lost only 2 pounds. They gave them all the same calorie count when they were trying to get them to lose weight. Okay? And some didn't drop at all. A calorie is not a calorie. See, according to Jillian Michaels, God bless her, who is she's weight loss, I think was it Biggest Loser or is it Extreme Makeover Weight Loss Edition? Biggest Loser, I think. She comes out there. She said this on the TV show The Doctors. Calories are everything when it comes to weight loss. It's the universal rule. No, it's not, Jillian. I'm sorry. Jillian, I respect your ability to get people healthy and motivate them, but honestly, the math doesn't work out, and neither does the biochemistry. So if this was true, why hasn't it worked yet? Because the fact of the matter is it doesn't work. Okay? So because counting isn't working for the majority of individuals, doctors, dietitians, and other healthcare providers blame you, the person, for your lack of willpower. But the truth is that it's bad information and it's a bad application of science. Okay, see, if you believe that you're destined to struggle with diabetes and obesity, and if you believe that you are a failure because of your lack of self-discipline, this often leads to emotional eating and depression, and you know what I'm talking about because I talked about it in the last step. So you get a double whammy of your body being malnourished because you're more than likely only watching calories instead of what is in the calories, which then leads to cravings, which are happening because it's not about how much you are or are not eating, it's about what you are eating. Not the quantities. Portion control does not work. It doesn't work. It's about what you are eating in those portions. You can have people that eat massive portions. Think about hot dog eating contest contestants. Okay, you can have people that they'll eat the equivalent of 6,000, 7,000 calories in a meal and they won't gain weight. It'll just pass right through them. This happens all the time. Look it up. I'm serious. Google this. Why is that? I mean, some hot dog eating contest people, yeah, they are big people. But think about like these Japanese guys that they're really real thin and they can eat all these hot dogs. Okay, so when you treat every calorie and carb, as I said, as equal, you ignore what those calories and carbs are really made of. This is the proof of that point. So when you stop counting, number one, you can pay closer attention to what food is actually doing to your body. Number two, you don't have to worry about exceeding a calorie count that you'll have to burn off later because it doesn't burn. And number three, it's much easier to actually enjoy your food guilt-free and without shame because that's a big problem. Okay, so this is a guy named Eliud, sorry. So Eliud worked with me, tried everything he did, tried to do his insulin, did not the carb counting, but did the calorie avoidance and thought of foods as good and bad. And he had a wound that was open for weeks on his hand and it wasn't healing. And when I met him, okay, he was so desperate for change and didn't know what to do. He wasn't getting the help he needed from his insulin or his doctor, and he wasn't seeing any results. Even with insulin, his sugars were in the 300s. Well, after working with me, within 1 week of working with me, his wound closed in 1 week and his fasting glucose plummeted to the high 70s and low 80s. And the pain from his neuropathy almost completely disappeared after a month and his skin was no longer dry and cracking. It had completely transformed him. Which leads us to our third step, which is what happened with him. Only trust your doctor for what they know, not what they don't. Okay, so this is what a doctor is taught. This is your diaphragm, stomach, spleen, kidney, liver, gallbladder, pancreas, small intestine, aorta, inferior vena cava. Your pancreas is, back here somewhere. So, check this out. This is typically what a doctor is taught. This is basic anatomy 101, okay? Now, watch this. Your doctor is trained in anatomy and physiology and medication, not food, okay? This is true. So check this out. How much time has your doctor spent learning about food and its effects in the body? Have you ever bothered to ask? Okay, so let's get to the truth of this. Your doctor has had between 15 to 20 actual hours of nutritional instruction in 10 plus years of schooling. I'm not talking about 15 course hours. I'm talking about 15 actual hours of nutritional instruction in 10 plus years of schooling. They're not getting the education in nutrition. And I read an article one time from a surgeon that's like, yes, we do. We learn about calories and we learn about carbs, and we learn about how these systems integrate in the body. Yes, doctor, but we just addressed that earlier. It's bad advice. So your doctors had between 15 to 20 actual hours of nutritional instruction in 10 plus years of schooling. So I want you to ask your doctor, how much nutrition education have you had? And if they're honest, they'll tell you not that much or none at all. And to give you an example of that, when I was working in the clinic, the doctor that I worked with, one time we had a patient come in, and the patient was sitting there and said, Doc, I want to know about shakes and smoothies, and this person had just been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And so I got a page on the system, Stephen doing exam room 3, Stephen doing exam room 3. So I walk in, and as I walk in, I'm seeing this patient sitting there, and I look at her, and I'm like, hi, and the doctor looks at me and says, Stephen, this is so-and-so, and they're here because they have questions about food, and they just got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and they want to do something about it. I said, okay, great. And so the doctor says, this is the guy you need to talk to because he knows about food. He's been trained in it, and I haven't. When I was in medical school, they taught me about surgery, taught me about medication, they taught me about the body, but they did not teach me about food. So go ahead and listen to him. She was an honest doctor. That was very telling because she was very honest about what she knew. I've talked to other doctors before. They're not honest. I had a doctor one time tell me, because we were talking about food and stuff. I was at a gathering at his house, and he's like, I'm a doctor, I know this. But he said it from a position of insecurity, not so much of, I know this stuff. Because if you were to ask him, what do you really know about food? He's only going to probably say carbs, calories, things like that. It's true. They don't get a lot of education. So, since diabetes is a disease of diet and lifestyle, how can a doctor, an endocrinologist, or anyone else that hasn't studied food from unbiased sources really help you? The truth is they're not going to be able to help you very well. Okay, they're taught only one way of doing things, so they disregard anything else that doesn't match up with their schooling. Because you have probably heard a doctor say, oh, diet has no effect on this, or diet has no effect on that. It was only recently that doctors started saying, okay, yes, diet has an effect on diabetes, but not as much as you think. Do you see the problem? They only taught one way of doing things. So a doctor is great at surgery. They're fabulous at what they do. And don't get me wrong, I'm not disregarding them. What I'm saying is trust them for what they know, not what they don't. And they don't know food. And they don't know how food affects diabetes very well. Not all of them do. Believe me, it's a very rare thing. Okay, so that kind of brings me up to this point. If you had a doctor, for example, even better. If you have an aircraft mechanic that knows jet engines, but they've never worked on a car engine, okay, and then you have a problem with your car, your Mercedes-Benz there, and your body's a Mercedes-Benz, you're probably thinking, yeah, right. No, I'm serious. Your body's a Mercedes-Benz. You just got to take care of it. So basically, your body can run great. It really can. But let's say you got an aircraft mechanic, and they're like, oh, I can fix your car. And you're like, really? Yeah, I saw a YouTube video once, and I read a manual. Well, that's great, but you've never actually put your hands on this engine, and you've never actually worked on it. Now, you're probably thinking that's an oversimplified, crude example, but what I mean is, if you have a doctor that hasn't set foot in a kitchen, doesn't know how to cook, and doesn't know how food works, and doesn't know how food works in the body, that's basically the fuel that's going into this engine, and doesn't know how the food interacts with the engine. I'm sorry, but it's not the same thing. See, an aircraft mechanic is great at aircraft. They understand. Now, the systems are similar in terms of internal combustion. They both have internal combustion, but at the same time, car is a little bit different from a jet. Car goes on the ground, jet goes in the sky. You get the idea. And so food is like the fuel that is going into the system. The doctor knows what happens when you stick jet aircraft fuel in the jet. Avgas is what it's called, or AV gas, or whatever it is. But not this. Do you see the problem? That's the problem. So you've been taught to ignore the signals that your body is sending you because your doctor's saying that it doesn't matter. Once again, go back to how food makes you feel. For example, cravings are bad. Chronic hunger is your fault. It's all in your head. Do any of these sound familiar? See, doctors used to believe, as I just said, that what you ate had zero effect on your health. It just was thought that food went into a black hole. I had a doctor tell me one time, he said, whenever we talk about a nutritional intervention with disease, doctors think it's witchcraft. They think it's you're a witch doctor. It's shamanism. That's a sick quote. And when I say sick, I mean SIC. That's a quote. Basically, I'm paraphrasing his quote there. That's what he said. And I'm like, oh my gosh. He said, so yeah, they're not really going to listen to you. Thank God there are some doctors that do, but most don't. Okay. See, by learning to listen to your body, you can begin to take control. So, as I said earlier, this also ties in. See, everything's linked. Ask yourself, how does food make me feel? Don't ignore the signals. So, let's understand how insulin is supposed to work and why you can't lose weight. Okay, now as I said, if you want to look at another free video, you can take a look at our diabetes group, Diabetes the Way Out for Type 2. We've got a video in there that goes into far more detail. But basically, your body uses insulin as a key to unlock the cell to force blood sugar into the system. And so when there's too much sugar, the cell protects itself by resisting insulin, which is type 2 diabetes. And that added insulin forces the cell open whenever you inject with a pen. It forces the cell open, making fat, causing sugar to enter the cell, and it causes you to gain weight because sugar is what really causes weight gain, not fat in food, not butter, not cheese, not stuff like that. It really is sugar. Excess glucose in the system actually causes the cell to basically produce hormones that actually make you get fat. See, your body is only as good as the materials that it's being made out of. And so if I were to build that house that you see on your screen out of rotten wood, it doesn't matter how well the outer coverings are, it's not going to work. It doesn't matter how well you exercise or you try to basically get fit in the gym. It all goes back to food is the foundation of a healthy life. Okay. See, the Sugar Research Foundation in 1967 paid Harvard scientists to cook the numbers in a study to indicate that fat from food was the cause of obesity and heart disease, not sugar. And so in the early 2000s, the sugar industry threatened the World Health Organization through the U.S. government to suppress a report which stated that sugar should only comprise 10% of our daily caloric intake. So this is why your doctor is clueless. Because when your doctor only gets their research from the government or big pharma, and they're so overworked and so overwhelmed by patient loads, there is no time for them to even think about vetting the research, as in digging into it further. And so the FDA even says that it's the responsibility of a drug company to market a drug and submit evidence that it is safe and effective. And all they're required to do is basically just do two studies that show that this drug is effective. They can have 1,500 studies that show that a drug hurts someone, but guess which ones they're going to submit to the FDA? They're going to submit the 2 that show that it works. And that's not hard to cook numbers with, and that happens all the time. Do some research on it. I know this might be shocking for you, but seriously. So here's your light bulb moment. Your light bulb moment is that doctors are desperate for change as much as you are, but they don't know how to do it. Okay? Because the real problem with that is that a doctor's only been given a hammer. And so when you're given a hammer, everything looks like a nail. You've heard that before. So here's a solution. You need to seek out advice from someone that knows what they're doing. Hi. More on this later. Okay. So what happens when we don't follow conventional wisdom? Now, these are the patient results I was telling you about. So basically, if you look right here, this is a screenshot from my screen. We had one patient that came in. When she worked with me, she started working with me in June 27th of 2016. Her A1C, she came in at 13.9. That's 1/10 of a point under 14, which is where we stopped measuring. Okay. And if you look, September 9th, 2016, 6.8 on her A1C. Here's a closer shot of it. She dropped 7 points in her A1C. In just a little over 3 months, or under 3 months. June, July, August. Just a little over 3 months. Think about that. 7-point A1C drop in 3 months. Thought to be impossible. It happened. Which to give you an example, metformin, which is the gold standard of diabetes care, only drops you 2 points if you're lucky. And this was a 7-point drop in 3 months. Think about that. So here's a quick recap of what we just talked about. Number 1, stop thinking of foods as good and bad. I want you to avoid counting entirely, and I want you to trust your doctor for what they know, not what they don't. So this leads us to our 4th step. Start eating more. What? Yes, start eating more. This is going to make sense in a second. Let me explain how this works. Okay? So as I talked about earlier, I'm going to elaborate on the insulin thing. So basically, these are keys that unlock a room. So think of insulin as the key that unlocks your cell. Okay, that's what it does. It unlocks the cell of your body. And so when you think of, excuse me, when you think of, back to the anatomy lesson here. Okay, we've got your stomach, spleen, aorta, diaphragm. There's your pancreas, right? So your pancreas is trying to crank out insulin into the body to basically open up your cells, but it can't do that. So watch what happens. So here's how the pancreas works. It produces hormones that make you feel full or hungry, and it releases insulin into your body to open your cells so they can receive glucose, and it regulates your blood sugar levels so you don't die. Okay, now if blood sugar is too high for too long, your body develops insulin resistance, which means the keys don't work on the door anymore because you can think of it as like putting Play-Doh in the lock. So your cells refuse to open up to allow insulin to unlock them so they can receive glucose. And so your body tries to release excess blood sugar through urination, which then damages your kidneys, which is why diabetics get kidney failure. Okay, see, if your blood sugar stays too high, your body will begin to break down because the insulin is basically trying to force the cell open. It almost tries to rip it open. So more insulin is required to force more blood sugar, glucose, into your cells. And so the result is that your body gains weight and your cells are more prone to long-term damage. Okay, see, your A1C scores up, and the A1C, like I said, is your measure of how much sugar is in your blood cells. We usually measure every 3 to 6 months, though sometimes it can be sooner. And so, in case you don't know what it is, normal A1C is between 4 to 5.6%, meaning that 4 to 5.6% of that cell has got sugar in it. Prediabetes is between 5.7 to 6.4. Diabetes is 6.5 to 14. So how does eating more solve this problem, you're thinking? Well, if you eat less, your body has no new materials to rebuild itself. See, as I said earlier, what you're eating is more important than how much of it you're eating. So remember the picture of your digestive system? If you think about it, there it is again. All the food is going into your stomach and your body's breaking that down, and then it's going through here. Your body absorbs nutrients through your small intestine and your large intestine. Basically, okay, here's how this works. Basically, if you're eating poor quality materials, you're going to have a poor quality body. And it's the same thing as if you put rotten wood in a house. It's not going to last very long, even if you cover it with granite and sheetrock and nice stucco. It's not going to make a difference. What you eat is more important than how much of it that you're eating. So you need to eat more health-promoting food. See, by eating less, you stay hungry and are more prone to binge eating. You'll then find yourself in an endless cycle of cravings and dissatisfaction, and you won't want to continue trying to get healthy because it's really just too hard. So your solution is this. I want you to start eating more real food. So here, write this down. Real food grows or is born. Fake food was grown in a lab, or was real food modified or processed in a lab. So I want you to imagine what happens when you start eating more. Your energy increases like you never thought possible. You no longer feel guilty or scared that you might be eating too much, and your body is given access to real nutrients to start rebuilding your cells and lower your blood sugar, giving you a long, full life with less weight, no guilt, zero shame, and no more ill health. And this leads us to our patient studies. These are clinical results, and these are dozens and dozens of patients that I've worked with at Total Family Healthcare. I say here in San Antonio when I did that slide, I didn't change it, with Dr. Abigail Barrera, MD. Because of privacy laws, I can't mention their names here, but I can tell you about the results. But let me see if this is the person that I'm thinking it is. It is. Okay. So actually, this person I can give you because they did give me a release form. You can actually check out her testimonial on Diabetes The Way Out for Type 2 in the Facebook group, the free Facebook group. Her name is Sherry Stallings. When she came in, she was at 91 in her fasting glucose, and her A1C was 6.5. She's diabetic, and she's like, I want to get off metformin. I don't want to be diabetic. I don't want to get injections. I want to be here for my grandkids and my children. And so we got her fasting glucose. This was a few months later. Let's see. This was November. In March, she was at 86 in her fasting, got to 6.0, and she dropped her weight from 170 to, by the time I was done with her, 150. As of right now, she's at 5.7. She's 1/10 of a point above diabetic. That is insane. Pre-diabetic, not diabetic. 1/10 of a point above pre-diabetic. She's almost completely normal. Think about that. That is insane. And it happened in a short amount of time. Here's another person. They came in at 8.0 in their A1C, and basically after, let's see, that was November, December, January, February. After 3 months, they dropped to 6.6. That's a 1.5 point drop. And their weight went from 251 pounds, and I think I got to them to 236. This other person right here, 10.9 on their A1C. 10.9. Got this person after 6 weeks to 9.0. Now, normally, as I said, they check 3 months after. I don't know why we checked after 6 weeks, but the thing was, I think the doctor was like, wait a minute, something's happening here. This person's getting too low too quick. Not in a bad way. And from think about that, 10.9 to 9.0, that's a 2-point drop. And basically, I said dozens and dozens. There were a lot of other people, but this is all I could fit in this because we'd be here forever if I kept going. But these results are real. They're absolutely real. And that leads us to our 5th step, which is only work with the very best kind of person to help you overcome this. So you work with the best. So everything we've talked about, from using your genes to your advantage, in other words, ignoring conventional wisdom that says diabetes is permanent, to listening to your body, to asking yourself how food makes you feel, to avoiding counting, is simple, but it's not easy. So executing each piece of this takes a lot of hard work. There are more pieces to this that are too big to put into a 60-minute presentation. And my patients and clients dropped all of this weight and got their A1Cs lowered and their sugars dialed into normal. They didn't do it alone. They worked with me and now my team to help get them there. And these people got off of insulin, got off of medication. If you're on medication, you can get off. If you're trying to avoid it, you can avoid it. It's so possible. See, with so many coaches and doctors and dietitians and diabetes educators out there, how do you know who's good? Well, here are the 6 standards of excellence that you should look for in this. Number 1, this person is getting amazing results for their clients. Now, let me put a little asterisk here. Just because someone's getting amazing results doesn't mean it's a lifelong thing. Because some people, for example, they get amazing results with their weight loss product, amazing results with their supplements. The problem is that supplements are only going to keep you for about 2 to 3 years, and then your body's going to get used to them because your body needs real food. So number 1 is the person is getting amazing results for their clients, but they need another piece of this, which is this person needs a step-by-step system to give their clients results as fast as possible to ensure lifelong success. None of this fad dieting thing where you jump back and forth from, hey, it worked here, and hey, it worked there, and oh, it stopped working, and oh, it did this. No. This person needs a step-by-step system to give their clients results as fast as possible to ensure lifelong success. And number 3, this person needs to have a system that is built around simplicity. Because yes, some people are getting amazing results and they have a step-by-step system, but the client has to jump through a ton of hoops, has to buy a ton of supplements, and has to do all these things to try and get themselves healthy. If you want someone that has a system that is built around simplicity, that does not require you to do a bunch of stuff in order to get results. You need that person to make sure that it's simple and easily executable for your lifetime. And number 4, this person has to try to work themselves out of a job. And what I mean by that, I mean that this person actually has to try and make sure that they equip you to take care of you for life. And that way, if you want to work with this person on additional things later, fine, you can. But ultimately, this person needs to try and work themselves out of a job with you to make sure that you achieve their goals. This person has to live for your outcome, like I do. Number 5, this person is compassionate, doesn't victim blame, and doesn't shame the client when they're having difficulties. Number 6, this person provides real support and accountability. Not, oh yeah, throw us an email and we're fine. No, I'm talking about they work with you once, twice a week, that they keep in touch with you to make sure that you're getting the results that you need. Okay, so here's the bottom line. The bottom line is, don't go at this alone. I mean, you can do this alone. You could vet all the research and you could go through all this. And you know what? This presentation is really going to help you with a lot. Don't get me wrong. But don't go at this alone, because you might get results, but it'll take you a long time to do it. It's about getting results faster so you can live your life faster, because you only get today. Today is never relived. You only get today. And you only live the life that you're living today. And I just want you to think about it. How much time do you really want healthy? And how much time do you really want sick? Think about that. See, I spent a year developing my program under the watch of 2 nurse practitioners and a doctor, and I was able to get better results from my patients in a year than the doctor was able to in 25 years of practice. Okay? See, if you want to fully control and even possibly reverse your diabetes, then find a mentor who meets the 6 standards and spend what it takes to work with them to save your life from the destruction of diabetes. Because let's be honest, you could develop this, you could go at this alone and do it forever and vet all the research. But while you're learning, your body is still breaking down, your body is still getting damaged. Why not do something and pay this person whatever it takes to get yourself healthy? Because put a price on your life. If somebody's like, oh yeah, $10,000 for your life. No, you're not gonna take $10K for your life. $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $10,000. I mean, think about it. See, this is the true cost of diabetes. See, the cost of purchasing diabetes is $3,600 a year based on the USDA average grocery spend of $300 a month per person. See, if you bought food that caused your diabetes, you spent $18,000 over the course of 5 years to buy diabetes. See, the cost of maintaining diabetes per year is $1,900, $1,000 for doctor's visits, and $900 for daily insulin injections. This doesn't count the additional medications, so you're looking at a $9,500 5-year cost, and the cost of losing a limb with insurance is between $4,000 and $12,000, not included the needed after-surgery rehab. And the American Diabetes Association, not the Dental Association, estimates that diabetes cost the average diabetic $13,700 per year in medical expenses, with $7,900 attributed to diabetes. The 5-year cost on that is $39,500. Now, a lot of this is if you don't have insurance, but if you do, you're looking at a minimum of $3,000 a year for this disease to maintain it. So your 5-year cost on the low end, you're going to be looking at 3 times 5, $15,000 to maintain this disease, which could take your life and your limb? I mean, come on. See, rising insurance premiums are a thing. And rising insurance premiums due to diabetes and lost time with loved ones, if diabetes takes a limb, your sight, or your life, is also a problem. This is also the cost. So your total diabetes 5-year costs are $67,000, not counting the cost of limb loss. And the bottom line is diabetes is expensive. It's even more expensive to go at it alone without a guide or a mentor. So today I promised you that I was going to show you how you got diabetes and how the exact same process that got you there can actually get you out of it. And I showed you a small anatomy lesson. I was going to show you how to change your relationship with your food so you can change your relationship with yourself, and how to finally lose that stubborn diabetic weight that won't go away despite how much you exercise, and how to sort through all of the confusing and overwhelming nutrition information that promises to get you healthy but really hardly ever does. And I told you this would go against conventional wisdom, but I showed you that it worked. And I wanted to show you how to eat what you want without portion control, all while still getting control of your blood sugar, and how to get permanent results instead of having to always rely on quick fixes that never work. And I was going to show you how to do all of this without having to count a single carb, a single calorie, or having long lists of don't eat this and don't eat that. And I told you that this is a no weight loss pills or food restriction required approach. So this is what you need to win. Write this down. This is the recap here. Stop thinking of foods as good and bad. Avoid counting stuff. Only trust your doctor for what they know, not what they don't. I want you to start eating more real food, and I want you to work with the best. And these 5 strategies alone are enough to get you on your way to total diabetes control in just 30 days or less. But now you have a choice at the crossroad of disease and health. Let me tell you how I can help. Excuse me. I've set aside some time in the next 48 hours to speak with you personally on how you can apply these strategies to your life today. So whatever your challenges are, I've more than likely helped someone through it, so you will be able to overcome it. And here's how it works. On this 45-minute session, you and I are going to work together to come up with a plan to get you where you need to be when it comes to your diabetes control goals, so you can finally take control and no longer be a slave or random victim or be tethered to medications or anything for the rest of your life. Okay? We're going to get clarity on this. And you'll walk away with a simple and highly effective game plan on what to do about your diabetes. And the cost of this, it's free. I'm not charging you for the cost. Okay? But let me tell you who this is for. Number 1, you must be coachable and teachable. Number 2, you must be willing to open your mind up to unconventional ideas when it comes to getting your health back. And number 3, you have to be motivated and willing to do what's necessary to change. If you're not coachable and teachable, you're just going to call me to complain about how wrong I was about this webinar. Don't call me. Don't set up a time with me. If you're not open-minded, don't call me. If you're not motivated, don't call me. Or don't set up a time with me. But if you are coachable and teachable, if you are willing to open your mind, and if you are motivated and willing to do what's necessary to change, then book a session right now. Okay? book a session right now. Let me tell you why I'm doing this. I'm doing this because I want to see you thrive. I love to see people go from despair to hope. Besides, I've lost several family members to diabetes, and I do have other relatives that are currently experiencing it, but really your message is lost on those closest to you, and it's really sad. I didn't find out my grandfather was diabetic till like 20 years after he was diagnosed. It was really bad. Even after working with my patients, I looked at my family, I'm like, hello. And plus, I know that you may want my help to transform your health like I have for so many other people. And so if so, we can discuss it. And if it's a good fit for both of us, then great. If not, then no worries. We're going to part ways as friends because I want to be your friend on this call and even beyond. And that's fine too. But really, if it's a good fit for both of us, then jump into the program because it's going to change your life like it has changed the lives of people that I've worked with. And I want it to change yours too. Okay, I'll be honest with you. It's a great program. So let's discuss it. Let's talk about it. Okay, so if this is you, I want you to go to www.epiphanyhealthcounseling.com/apply. And spaces are limited, so I want you to go there right now. And I do apologize if I talk fast. It's a lot of information to try and cram in, and I don't have a lot of time to give it. But I want to make sure that you get everything you need. And like I said, I do talk fast. I apologize. But nonetheless, go to www.epiphanyhealthcounseling.com/apply. Spaces are very limited, so I want you to sign up right now. And if you want, you can also go to Facebook and take a look at our free diabetes group. It's Diabetes the Way Out for Type 2. If you're still kind of on the fence on this, I don't know, Steven, it's just kind of a webinar out of nowhere and I don't know who you are, go there to that group. Over 900 people have benefited from the information that I've given them. And I want you to go ahead and go there too so you can also. That's Diabetes the Way Out for Type 2. But if you want to call me right now, if you're like, you know what, this is it, I'm ready to go, let's do something about this. I don't have the time to waste. My life is too important. My health is too important. I just need to do something about this now. Go to www.epiphanyhealthcounseling.com/apply. And I'll be glad to talk to you. You're going to talk with me or someone on my team. Once again, my friends, I hope you had a great day, a great time with me. I had a blast talking to you. Sorry if it got wordy, sorry if it got long, but I needed to give you this information because I want to see you whole. I want to see your A1C drop, your weight drop, and you get off of medication, you get off of your insulin. If that's what you're on right now, I want to see you whole because I live for the outcome of seeing you whole. So we'll talk to you later. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. And that's pretty much it. So like I said, epiphanyhealthcounseling.com/apply. There may be a button on this page. Click that. It'll take you to our scheduling system. When you get on the scheduling system, it'll ask you to select a time to talk. There's going to be a short questionnaire after that. Please fill that out because that'll help us prepare for our call with you to make sure that we're getting all the information that we need so that we can get straight to it. We don't have to waste any time and we can just jump right in. Okay, that way we can just jump straight away in. So if you don't fill out the questionnaire, that's fine, but please at least set up a time and do the questionnaire if you can. Thank you so much. I'm Steven. It was such a pleasure talking to you today. Have a great day, my friend.